Welcome to Camping 101, Episode 1. I'm Melanie, and with me is my mom, Sue.
Hello.
I got a funny camping story for you, Mom. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one?
Which one? When we were at Killbear many years ago camping with Grandma in the trailer, and our next door neighbors, they were cooking steak at like 10 o'clock at night. And then a bear came and ate the steaks right off the grill, and then it stormed straight into their eating tent, just broke the eating tent, and it took a box of like cereal, and all you could see was the cereal floating out in the dark.
Into the woods. Yes, I think I was standing beside them on the street watching that all happen. And probably said something like, "Oh, who's the dummy that did that?" And it was them beside me.
Oops. Do you have a funny camping story?
Once, we were camping when you were little in tents, and you guys were asleep in the tent, and I was doing some dishes late at night, and right behind me our boxes of food, our non-perishable food was behind me, and I heard a noise, and quicker than that, turn around, and there's a raccoon taking off with a bag of Oreos.
Oh my gosh.
Dad's favorite. Into the bush. Dad's running, "It's my Oreos, my favorite." The raccoon up the tree, and he's yelling because he was so mad, your dad, about the Oreos, and I think the raccoon ended up like dropping them or throwing them at your dad's head.
Intentionally or not, we'll never know. Well, how long have you been camping for?
So pretty well all my life, since I was young with my mom started and my brothers, and then continued with you guys.
So what year around?
Probably in the 70s.
Time's a long time. No, I'm not. No. And I've been camping, I guess, since the early 2000s.
Yes, when you were about 3 or 4. I started, we all started going. I also took you on trips alone with me for the weekend.
Yeah, so we started as a family in tents, and then we bought the tent trailer, which was just a little more luxurious. Yes. And then we bought the travel trailer, and then we got an even bigger travel trailer. And then a few years ago, you guys decided to sell that trailer. You've gotten into canoe tripping now. And as an adult myself, I've gotten back into the car camping with friends and partner.
Yes.
My partner, yeah.
So it was quite a while.
So I think we both have quite a lot of camping experience. And so why don't we delve into some of the camping basics? What should you pack when you're planning your very first ever camping trip?
That's true. So one of the main things, what do you think about, is food, water, and shelter are the most important. Shelter's the most important when you're camping. And most of the time, car camping is at like an Ontario park or Crown Land, where there's campsites that you drive to. That's what car camping means. And you drive to your site with your car and then set up your tent at the same site. That's what car camping means.
So we need a tent, and I think there is that misconception when you buy a tent. And again, it doesn't have to be an expensive tent, but there is that misconception that tents are waterproof on their own. And we personally like to buy waterproof spray every season. We spray the bottom of our tent. If we have extra spray, we'll spray the sides as well, and it gives it an additional waterproofing to help. And I've noticed a difference. I've camped in tents with someone else, and that tent, it wasn't waterproof sprayed, and it was brand new, but it's still like the moisture kind of seeped through in the morning.
That's true. Most tents nowadays are waterproof, they say. But again, with the use, they will not always be waterproof. So you should waterproof them, and they provide sprays at any store, Canadian Tire, camping store. Do at the beginning of the season. You spray it out in the backyard. You let it dry overnight, and then repack your tent, and it should help. Yeah, definitely the bottom and any type of the nylon that you can spray, or if there's a fly, just to help. I mean, you're out in the wild, it's pouring, you want to be dry.
And then the other misconception with tents is how many people that they actually fit. So if it says it's a 5-person, that means you're probably going to be like right next to the other person.
That's what that refers to tents. When it's a 4-person tent, it means 4 people lying touching side by side, literally nothing else in your tent. So what you want to look for, if there's 4 of you, get a 5-person or higher tent, because I have like a 2-person for my 1 person. Unless you're Melanie, then you have
I have a 4-person tent itself, and it fits a double air mattress in there with a little bit room for my packed bags and everything like that with clothes.
But normally it's one less. So yeah, you think of a 4-person as really fitting 3, or a 2-person is 1.
And now we've got the tent, and we need somewhere to sleep. So as I've already mentioned, I like my double air mattress.
That's right. And if you're starting out, you can start with like an air mattress from Canadian Tire or dollar store even. But that's good for summer camping, because the air in the mattress will cool with whatever temperatures. That's why you sometimes have a fluctuation in what your mattress feels like, softer or harder, even though you've blown it up, because of the air temperature. It changes it. But if you're going to be camping in cooler temperatures, spring or fall, which are shoulder seasons, you want to get an R-rated pad.
And if you don't know what R rating is, Mountain Equipment Co-op, which is a camping store, it's defined as the warmth of a sleeping pad is actually indicated by R value. And that is a measure of the material's resistance R to heat loss. So the higher the R value, the greater the warmth.
That's correct. So you're looking at shoulder seasons, the cooler weather, like I would say 5 and higher are great for cool weather. That's what mine are. And you can get all types of pads and costs for comfort. They roll up pretty small, but you want that R rating because that is where the cold it comes from. It's the ground. It's not the air temperature that you think you're going to be cold lying on the ground in a tent. It's coming from out of the ground. So that's where you need to have something warm underneath you. So get an R rated for any type of cool temperatures. And then you can just pick what comfort or size or cost you want.
And I'm very grateful. You just recently got me for my birthday. You and Dad got me an R-rated, again, double sized, because I liked my spacious when I'm sleeping.
That's right.
You have the single
Yes.
version of that.
Yes.
And some of them are self-inflating, or you said yours is kind of like CPR.
That's right.
That's how I say describe it.
And other ones use little bags that you push the air in.
That's mine.
Yes. So to fill them up, and some just get blown up.
So we've got the tent, we've got what we're going to sleep on. Biggest thing also, spring, summer, fall, you need a sleeping bag.
That's correct, of course. And so sleeping bags come in all shapes. There's rectangle sleeping bags and what they call mummies, which is the ones with like the hood around your head, which is what we both have. But if you're just starting out, you don't, in the summer especially, you can just get a sleeping bag at Canadian Tire or whatever comfort you want. But again, the cooler weather or shoulder seasons, like if you go to Mac, you're going to look at ones that are rated at a 0. They have ratings of what temperature they are comfortable or go to, like 0 degrees or -5. And if you have the hood, it's the mummy style, that keeps your heat retention in, again, your head. And that means they're tighter than a rectangle. A rectangle sleeping bag is a lot bigger than a mummy style. And then there's synthetic and down. Synthetic is cheaper than a down sleeping bag. And it can be washed easier than a down, but a down can be extremely warm. So again, you've got to see what type of camping you're doing to choose on what type of sleeping bag you want. But if you're starting out, you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars, $500 in a sleeping bag, right? Just go to Canadian Tire. And if you're going in the summer, again, and you just want to try it out, you don't have to do that.
And then I guess we also need is where we're going to put our head. We need a pillow. A lot of people like to bring their personal pillows. We don't do that. You know, the chances of that fitting in the car, you already know I overpack.
Yes.
But an additional is if it rains and something leaks in your tent and that's your good pillow, that's not great. So we've tried different pillows that are camping pillows that are about half the size of a normal pillow. Some of them compress and you can roll them up. Others, like ours, are self-inflating where we can actually blow air into it. And then it can either be like as soft or as dense as we want it to be.
That's correct. Yeah. Camping pillows. That's a good investment too. But again, you don't have to. Some people use just a bunch of clothing or nothing, but I find it comfortable to have a little pillow.
So you do glamp a little bit. So
I do a little bit of pillow.
She does this like.
That's right.
Now, I think one of the biggest things for me and maybe other people is bugs.
Oh, yes.
I do not like the bugs. You know, one of the biggest things is I'm hiding from them. I'm either in bug pants and a bug jacket, or I'm trying to light the citronella candles to see if that will help. There's these new thermocells. Those work great too, actually. Like I was using those last season and that did help with the bugs. It makes like a little bubble. And so that was a great investment. But one of the biggest things that I find the best to escape the bugs if I don't want to hide in my tent is a eating tent.
That's correct. An eating tent usually have a solid roof and then have 4 sides that are mesh. And it's what they're called, eating tents, but or bug tents people call them. You can put them around a picnic table and have all your meals in them. You zip open a door and quickly rush inside and zip it shut. And if you have your thermocell or a citronella or something in there, it helps to keep the bugs away. So you can enjoy a meal, maybe not in your complete bug suit, so your face isn't covered. And it gets you away, or play cards, and you're not in your tent. It's also good sometimes in rain, right? An eating shelter. So that's a good investment. And then again, you explain they have bug nets that you can put on your head, or they have complete jackets and pants. You can use bug spray with DEET. Some people don't like DEET. That's the ingredient that keeps bugs away, biting bugs. There's all sorts of things to get you through that bug season. Unfortunately, in Canada or in Ontario, here we are, we're going to have bugs from mid-May to end of July, biting bugs. So those are ways you can help to enjoy yourself better. You can be in your complete outfit like you, or I just wear a lot of bug spray.
And now that we're talking about being in an eating tent, where you would eat, a lot of people are like, well, how do I cook? Like you could go one of two ways. Either you can cook on a fire, or you could cook with a propane type or gas type stove, or even a barbecue.
That's true.
So I personally love working with a Coleman stove. I've learned that those, although they burn a little bit hotter than your stove at home, I just like that because I don't have to worry about making a fire.
That's right. So yeah, you can cook on a fire. A lot of Ontario parks provide the grill, so you can cook right on a grill off top of fire. Bear in mind your cooking stuff will probably get blackened. That's what fires do to it. It does come off with like SOS pads, but they'll be blackened. If you like your cooking equipment to look great, like Mel likes it to still look nice, using a Coleman stove, 2-burner or single burner stoves you can buy, you can do anything. You can do like at home. It's like using an oven. Or yeah, some people bring barbecues. There's small barbecues that you can cook on too. So there's all sorts of ways, including the food that you get too. There's different foods. You can get a dehydrated meal, more expensive. They come in a little bag, and then you just add boiling water to the bag and it rehydrates in like 15 minutes and there's a meal. Costlier, or you cook your own food on one of the things we just said.
But a lot of people are like, how do I make a fire? And, you know, I'm still learning. I'm not a master at making fires compared to you, okay?
That's true.
You've bought me, though, fire starters that we've gone to the store. They're these little cubes, and that really kickstarts that fire making process. But how else do you make a fire?
Yeah, they're a really good thing to have because they work in the rain too. So it's when it's difficult. So they're not costly to have little fire starters. You light the fire starter and you're going to get at Ontario Parks, if you're camping there, you're going to get their wood because you can't bring other wood in. So they give you bags of kindling, which is small pieces of wood, and then the regular pieces of wood. So you're going to have your little fire starter, and then around that, like in a log cabin, which is like a square, you pile up your kindling. And then you start your fire on some kindling first, the small wood, and then you add the big pieces of wood to make your fire. Sometimes in a pyramid around that. It's just, remember, fire needs oxygen, so they can't have stuff stuffed in together. You have to have some air in between things.
And if you don't want to buy a fire starter, you can even use paper towels, Kleenex, newspaper.
That's true. Old egg cartons, anything papery that can help start. But fire starters are really good also because they'll burn longer than a piece of paper that you light up, or a Kleenex. It goes quickly. The fire starter is quite a little longer, so it will catch that kindling, and that's what the key is. So you just have to get that going. Once you get going, you're going to watch your fires and keep feeding it, right, to make it keep going.
Another thing people might think with car camping is, where am I going to store food that needs to be refrigerated if I am bringing like dairy or meat products that need to be refrigerated? And so a cooler, getting a good cooler, and they don't have to be hundreds of dollars. I bought my very first Coleman cooler from Canadian Tire, and it was on sale under $100, easily enough room in there for a weekend or 2-3 days with 2 people. And the biggest thing though is ice, and you're gonna have to buy ice. You know, they, in the thick of the summer when it's super hot and humid, you're going to be spending a lot of money on ice. But Ontario Parks often have ice on site that you can buy, and if they don't have it, some of them don't, you can get them at nearby gas stations and things like that.
It's not tons of money. I can't remember what it was.
$3-4 a bag,
and you maybe a couple of bags, to fill it up and keep your coolers nice and cool for your perishable foods that you want to bring. And then the biggest thing in camping is, remember, again, you're in the wild. So you need to store that. If you're going to the beach for the day, there's too many people that leave the food out at the campsite. You need to put it in your vehicle, covered in a blanket, because bears recognize coolers. So seeing one in your car, you don't want them to see it. That's why they say put a blanket on it. And anytime you're away from your campsite, don't leave them out. Bears and raccoons and things know what they are, and they know how to get into them. It does not protect at a cooler. A bear just rips it open. So don't think that's protected.
And another thing, when with your dishes, how are we going to clean our dishes? And so you and I like to use buckets, because when you're at an Ontario Park, and I mean anywhere, you really shouldn't be
throwing out the food, the water anywhere. We use Rubbermaid containers is what we kind of call them, or buckets, like you're saying, right? With biodegradable soap. And then what you're supposed to do is go to an outhouse or the bathrooms to pour down your dirty dishwasher, all of it, into a toilet. You don't throw it in the bush. So many people still do it because it's attracted to wildlife. It's got food bits or grease or whatever in it. Walk it over and throw it in an outhouse, and don't use the taps where you get your water from that either. You need to put it somewhere safe when you're car camping, which is the toilets. So yeah, they got your dishes and all your dishes gear, and you're good sleeping and you're good to go.
What about when you're sitting by the fire? Bring some foldable camping chairs too.
That's a good idea.
Those are pretty small and portable. You really don't need.
You can take it to the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So there you go.
Clothesline as well. If you're going to be hanging tea towels or any type of towels. If you're at an Ontario park, they do have comfort stations where you can go to the bathroom and you can take a shower.
That's
things
true,
like
yes.
that.
They also have a Learn to Camp program. Great thing to look into if you're really brand new. They teach you how to camp. They'll teach you all the basics that we're talking about here on if you want to try camping. And there's so many Ontario parks.
Yes. So speaking of Ontario parks, one of my favorites I have two I'm tied with, would be Algonquin, which is just north of Huntsville, Ontario. They've got so many different campgrounds, so much hiking, absolutely beautiful. And my other favorite is Killbear, which is just north of Parry Sound, Ontario. Absolutely beautiful on Georgian Bay.
Yep, they're my favorites too. And then I also love Temagami, which is north of North Bay, a beautiful, huge area of old growth forest. So there's so many Ontario parks. I couldn't even tell you how many I love.
You can get Ontario Parks passports like we have every time we go, and then you can add a little sticker to where you've been.
To say you've been there.
Yes.
Yeah, but my dream one is Quetico. That's near Manitoba, past Thunder Bay. What about you?
I would love to go back to Killarney. Like when I was a kid, I don't remember it that much, and I want to hike the Crack again. It's a distant memory, so that's my dream to go back to soon.
Awesome.
So just remember, you're going camping, enjoy the outdoors, and have fun, but leave no trace. That's something we just want to emphasize. You don't want to bring your own firewood. We've seen parks change over the years, especially like with Killbear and the emerald ash borer and how that's changed with the invasive species. They had to cut all the trees down. So just really be mindful of what you're bringing. And if you're going to an Ontario park or anywhere, you should be getting the wood from them where you are camping.
The area, yes. It should be local to prevent invasive species, and leave no trace. That means you don't leave garbage. You're supposed to leave a place better than when you got there. So it looks like you weren't even there. So you don't throw garbage on the ground. You dispose of everything properly. Like you're saying, the water, your dishwater, garbage, everything goes in its place. Don't make a mess. So it's there for generations, for all of us to enjoy. That's the main thing, because we really need to protect our wild areas. We're so lucky to have so many wild areas in Ontario.
We have so many Ontario parks as well as Crown.
So we got to protect them. Yes. So leave no trace. That means don't leave anything that you don't just left there. You got to clean up after yourselves and make it look like better than when you got there.
Well, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We hope that you have learned a little bit about the camping basics in episode 1, and stay tuned for episode 2.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mama.